All right, folks, today on r/NuclearRevenge, we're delving into two wild rides. First, we're stepping into a family drama where a clever stepdad battles a deceitful ex with wit you won't believe. Then, we're jetting off to Subway, where an ordinary customer teaches some troublesome ladies a lesson they won't forget. Intrigued? Good, let's dive in. Mess with my kids? Okay, you lose your house. Posted by Outrageous Duck 164. I, male, 50, have two stepsons who I refer to as my sons since I've been in their lives since they were 8 and 10. They're now young men. My wife and I made it a point to maintain a great relationship with their dad, Jason, and ensured he had as much access to them as possible. He even stayed at our place frequently since he lived over an hour away and couldn't afford to live closer. Jason had an ex-girlfriend who was notoriously unstable. She claimed they were married through common law or in secret or on an Indian reservation. Regardless, Jason had a restraining order against her due to her erratic and destructive behavior. She was a rather troublesome individual, with several arrests for forgery and fraud. Despite their tumultuous relationship, Jason thought he could make it work because he was fond of her daughters and grandson. Unfortunately, she was the reason he ended up in prison for violating his probation when he traveled to his mother's funeral without filing the appropriate form. After his release, she sought to reconnect, but he declined and moved to a new town. However, she persisted in harassing him, even pretending to be others to spread damaging rumors about him. This led to him getting a restraining order against her. Jason passed away unexpectedly from a heart attack. He had been at peace, maintaining wonderful relationships with friends and his sons, and was truly content. He didn't possess much: a single wide trailer, some toolboxes, old comics, video games, D&D books and modules, mementos from his time in the Marines, and an old 2009 pickup, which he had promised to my eldest son, Paul. Jason didn't have a will, so my wife became the executor of the estate, since the sons were minors and the sole heirs at the time of his death. We cleared out Jason's trailer and took the truck, intending to transfer the title to Paul's name once we received the death certificate. The ex, however, demanded the truck, even threatening to report it as stolen. Once we got the death certificate, we discovered at the DMV that she had fraudulently claimed the truck's title, declaring herself the sole heir. This meant we couldn't transfer the title, and Paul had to carry a packet of documents proving his innocence if he were pulled over for driving a stolen vehicle. We had to hire a lawyer and start a special process that took several months and cost us thousands in legal fees to resolve. The court declared the boys as the sole heirs, and my wife as executor of the estate in their names. During this time, we found that Jason's name was on the deed of the ex's house. She had added his name to gain a reduction in property taxes due to his disabled veteran status. Fed up with her harassment, we decided to file a lawsuit for half the house's worth, about $380,000. She rejected a settlement offer during mediation. Later, her lawyer dropped her, and she produced a found will and a quitclaim deed allegedly signed by Jason. She planned to appeal the probate, but never showed up for court. The trial lasted less than 10 minutes, and the judge awarded the estate half the property. A panel of lawyers will now decide how to sell the property, and she will face the consequences of her actions. Mess around, find out. Whoa, now that's what I call pulling a rabbit out of a hat. Our cunning stepdad really showed us that the pen is mightier than the sword, didn't he? Talk about flipping the script on that devious ex. It's almost poetic. She tried to swipe his property, and now she's about to lose her own. There's a moral in here somewhere. Maybe it's don't mess with a patient man who knows his way around the law. Sandwich theft Karen posted by Jar Jar Mullet. On a day off from work, I found myself craving a sandwich at lunchtime. During a hot day, I traveled to the nearest Subway and queued up. Since it was noon, the place was buzzing with people and, like many places, it seemed understaffed. The young teenage girl was the only one making sandwiches while a manager was handling the payments and occasionally assisting with the condiments. As I was waiting in line at Subway with about 6 other people, I found myself behind a group of 3 older ladies who were the Karens in this story. While they didn't fit the spitting image of most Karens, you could tell from their conversation that they were the type of women with permanent resting bitch faces. When it was their turn to order, each of them wanted a highly customized sandwich. One wanted this meat, another wanted that cheese, one thought the fillings were too much, another wanted her sandwich toasted, and so on. The one girl was struggling to keep up and was visibly frustrated and stressed. Seeing her distress, the manager stepped in to help, but these women were impossible to please. After about 15 minutes of watching them customize each of their sandwiches, it was finally time to pay. They headed to the register as my simple meatball sub was quickly prepared. However, when the manager rang up the total, which came to around $30, they launched into a tirade. They complained about the long wait and the employees' inability to make a sandwich. They demanded their meals for free. I was fed up with their behavior and offered to pay for their sandwiches in addition to my own. The Karens smirked, thinking they had outsmarted the situation. After my payment was processed and I received my receipt, I collected the sandwiches and headed towards the door. As I was leaving, one of them called out to me saying, excuse me, you have our food still, aren't you going to bring it to us? I held up my receipt and said, nope, I paid for these, they're my sandwiches, I'm taking them back to work. This caused the women to chase after me, threatening to call the police and have me arrested for theft. I told them to go ahead. I knew there was no real threat here. One of them started to dial a number on her phone while the others continued berating me, making empty threats. Despite being belittled, I stood there in silence, drawing the attention of the crowd inside the store. Soon enough, a few police units arrived. They looked slightly confused as they approached me. One of the officers asked me, are you the guy they called us about? You matched the description. To which I replied, yes, I'm the one they called about. The officer then asked me, they are saying you stole their sandwiches and demanded money from them. Is that what happened? I said, no, it isn't. You can ask the store clerk and manager who paid for the sandwiches. Here's my receipt. One officer walked into the store to speak with the staff and checked the surveillance footage while the other officer listened to the women's claims. Once the first officer returned and confirmed that I had indeed paid for the sandwiches, the staff of the store also requested that the women be trespassed for causing a disturbance. I was free to leave but decided to stay and have my meal inside the store. The women were escorted out of the store looking more bitter than ever. The manager came over to my table with a cookie which she said was on the house. Okay, is it just me or does this story make anyone else feel like they're underachieving in their personal grudge department? It's one thing to plot a little payback, but escalating it to a legal nuclear showdown over half a house. That's commitment. And let me tell you, the satisfaction of seeing karma served ice cold must have been an epic reward for our protagonist. You know what everyone says about revenge? It's a dish best served in court, apparently. Hey, wait! As always, don't forget to kindly tap the like button, share, subscribe, and let me know in the comments below what you would have done if you were in this situation. Stay safe out there in that crazy world. Much love, peace.